Hey, party people, welcome back to MVM. And today I am here with Spellrift Legends. This is a preview of a prototype here. It is by Dragori Games. Now, I've been covering Dragori Games since I was a blogger. First game they gave me, Arena of the Contest, was in an envelope. It was a piece of paper in an envelope. I had to put it together back in the day. And here they are, years later, tons of success. I think I covered Odalin last year, and Odalin, which is about to deliver. And here we are with Spellrift Legends. Now, the reason why I keep covering their games is because they keep making really good or awesome games. And this one is no different. Of course, take that with a grain of salt because this is a paid preview. But I like to show you games that I enjoy, and hopefully I help you make an informed backing decision. All right, with that being said, this is a 1 to 5 player game. It is a cooperative adventure game. I will tell you, people who are solo enthusiasts are going to absolutely love this game, but I think other people can be invited to the table and have a good time too. This is a overworld adventure game. It's going to have a ton of variability, and when I say a ton, it's quite quite interesting how everything can play out and be different every time you play it, which I'll talk about. But you are these people fighting in a fantasy world, moving across these 8 worlds. Think of circles of different environments, and you are trying to stop these beasts from coming through these rifts. So there's going to be these different rifts around the board and enemies around the board, but you're trying to close these rifts. But that is going to irritate the boss, and the boss of the level, because there will be multiple different bosses and multiple different types of setups, will get irritated when you get to a certain point, and then you will have to face it off. But you're going to have to protect the lands as it goes along, because there's going to be a doom tracker, and if it goes to a certain point, you're going to lose the game. If you die a certain amount of times, you're going to lose the game. If despair is spread through all the 8 lands, you are going to lose the game. There are a lot of ways you can lose the game, and the one way you can win is defeat the enemy. So you want to make sure that you get to everything before the pressure builds up in the game and likely finish off the boss. Now, hopefully I can explain concepts of the game so you get an understanding of what's going on in the experience, and I'm not going to get into all the rules. So I really want to dive into what the characters are, what the turn is, and the amount of variability and gameplay that's going on, and less about every single rule. Let's go ahead and get to it. Now, the major highlight, there's one really major highlight for me in this game is the character development. See, in this game, the mechanics are built around 2 major things: doing stat and skill checks across the board, but also these multi-use cards. The cards are very simple. Your character is very simple. They're going to come with their own character deck. There's going to be upgrade cards that are in a big old deck. You're going to start out with 10 cards. And the cards look sort of like Gloomhaven cards. What they're going to do is they have a top and a bottom, so like Gloomhaven in a sense, right? But on the top is going to be used for attacks. The bottom is going to be used for skill checks, and also building a tableau of cards that give you like an engine of different abilities and skills that can last throughout the game, or they can be instant. But the top part is going to be the attack, ranged, or melee. So you'll have a different variation of that. But then also the color of the card can help you move around the board as well. So there's a lot of uses for this card. You can even discard cards to get extra actions. There's a lot of things you can do with just a set of cards. And you can have up to 7 of these in your hand, and that's part of the character development. You also have your own abilities. So each character, they have a Hercules in this one, like a kind of a knight Valkyrie person, and then I had the samurai. I wanted the samurai. So Miyamoto Musashi. So there's all different warriors from different time periods fighting off these. They're represented in different worlds and lands, trying to fight these things off. Now I have this guy here. You're going to start out with a certain amount of health. You're also going to have these action points. They give you extra action points during the game, and you're going to get them each round. That's going to help you do different things like re-roll, also take different actions on your cards, things of that nature. I'm not going to go too deep in the weeds with that. I'm just going to call them action points. And you're also going to have your own goal. You'll get 3 goals, but you choose one. And these goals are, they're kind of in line with who you are. So like I'm a swordsman and I can manipulate the color of my stat check. So I have ones where it's like I beat them without using my skills. I just use them straight up by having the cards. There are different ones, like if you defeat a certain amount of enemies on your own without help, like one big enemy on your own. They have all these different things, but you choose one of those. And in a cooperative game, you would keep them you would keep them silent. They're like your own secret quest because you represent your own people. You're off on you're kind of like with the group fighting everybody off, but you have your own secret objective. Now you can play this the way you want to. You can, play that out with your hands, without. It's how you want to do it, but that's thematically what they're trying to go for. So all that to be said, you're going to have your hand of cards. So you'll have a hand of cards to start out with. You have 3, and you'll keep these in your hand. This will be the beginning of what's going on. But I also want to show you what's going on out here. There's a lot, okay? There's a lot. Other things that I can talk about that are out here, but we're just going to go through all of it. The beginning of the game, you're going to have this Spellrift right here. You don't want monsters going in here because they're going to have this Doom tracker going up. And each of the enemies you're going to start out with, they're going to have their own different setup. I only have this one here, the Eye of Nothingness. It's going to tell you how things are set up. It's going to have this awareness track that you have to beat, get to a certain point by closing voiderifts to turn it to its other side, and it will appear in the middle of the map. But it also has these different conditions that are going to go on during the game. Like I said, think of like Aeons End. Think of all these different boss battle games where conditions are set forward. This also is going to tell you how to set up rifts and despair around the board. But this setup is variable. So like all these pieces right here, they are randomly shuffled, and they'll be double-sided, by the way. They said in the final, this is just the prototype. They'll be double-sided, so you'll have different lands. And each land of these has these favor cards. They represent the same colors. They look like this. They have a front and a back. These are going to be where you're doing the different locations during your exploration phase and dealing with these cards as you get to certain areas. So you want to do these because they're going to give you specific benefits like extra experience points. They may lower the Doom track. What's this one here? It helps you heal. This one here gives you 3 experience. This one here lets you draw 2 cards. So you're going to try to be dealing with these things while you're out here. And this is the variability. I already have some kind of enemies set up over here, but I want to talk about everything else that you see. So the imminent threat is this enemy here. It's got its own boss card deck, which will be flipped every round. It also has a variable setup. So you're going to have 3 cards that are basic, 3 cards that are intermediate, and then 3 cards that are advanced. Those cards, there's a whole bunch of extra cards that are not in the deck. So then you have the variability for each boss, cards that what you won't see every single time. You also have these voiderifts that are going to be around here. There's a massive deck of voiderifts. There's going to be more cards depending on how this funds. This is another set of stat text that you have to deal with when you try to close the rifts so that you can raise the awareness of the beast and eventually flip him over and then have him, you fight against him. Okay? This is the Doom tracker. So this will happen every round according to how many enemy groups are out here. The Doom tracker will move up. If it ever gets to 40, you lose the game. But every round, you'll have this go up. And what will happen is if you get beyond 20, more powerful enemies will come out. So you want to make sure you stay in the monster deck instead of the elite monster deck. This is our health area for our enemies here. We'll get into that when we get into attacks. But that is basically what you're looking at on this board here. I even have some condition cards over here. The cool part about the condition cards, and I'll just lay this out here, is that when you get certain status effects, some of them can be positive, but on the flip side, each one of them is a negative one. So for example, if I ever want to do a stat check for blessed, I get +1 to this specific type of row and it gives me extra stuff. Or it could be the negative side, I get cursed. So it does a negative test to my actual card test. So there's quite a bit of, just quite a bit going on in this game. But how do you play a round? We're just going to get an idea of what a round works like. I'm playing solo. In solo, it's in a regular game, when you have more than one player, you're going to have more things set up, more enemies, more of everything. Harder game, of course, that scales accordingly. All that stuff's on the cards, by the way. I'll show you some pictures of some cards. Everything and how it scales for 1, 2, 3, and 4, it's on the cards. So you don't have to go diving for how things are changed up. But for the solo, it's very specific. We have our journey phase, our exploration phase, and then the boss phase. And then what we're going to do is in a solo game is we're going to go journey phase, exploration, journey phase, exploration, then the boss. Okay, so we get like 2 shots at it to represent almost a 2-player experience. So I get once. All right, so we're starting out here. We have our different areas here, and this is the Spellrift. We want to stop monsters from getting to the because they also affect this Doom tracker and they make things go really fast. We do not want that. So we want to keep these enemies out here and we want to attack them out here. We also have quests. These quests that are out here, we'll have one of them in play. It's right here. Some of the setups here, I'll tell you, they have different letters on them. That's how these things get placed. Everything is really to figure out. But here we are with our Spellrift. We want to protect this one here. And each one, like I said, of these represents a different color. You see that green line and the yellow on the outline and things of that nature. They represent different colors. This one is like, I believe this is gray. And each section, each one of these worlds has a A, B, C, and D. Those are locations where you can go inside of this deck and you're going to do one of these actions. So in the journey phase, so the first part of it is the journey phase. In the journey phase and at the beginning of the journey phase, we're going to get 2 of these action points and we'll draw 3 cards. So we'll draw 3 cards. We'll have this in our hand. We can have a certain amount of cards in our hand, and that will change depending on status effects. And then I have my hand here. Now, what do I do with my hand? So on your turn, on your journey phase, you can move. What you want to do to move is you're going to use action points here to move. So you use an action point to move 1 space to the next space. Now, if you want to move into a different world, that's fine. But whenever you see these despairs, it's going to cost you an extra movement. Another way you can move instead of doing that is you could play a card that matches the color of where you're moving. So like, let's say I'm in here to move to another land right here, another spot in here. So I'm at D and I want to move to C. I could play this card, which is yellow, instead of using one of my action points to move as well. So you can also risk burning some of your cards in order to go. Like you can kind of play this as a little bit of management, because in the beginning of the game, you're only going to start with 2 because at the beginning, you're going to start with 2. I'm giving myself a couple extra just so I can show you how the movement goes. And then you can move around as you see fit. And whatnot. So that would be your movement. You can decide how much you want to move around, get to the spots you want to be. Maybe you don't want to move at all. Okay. So the reason why you want to is because you probably want to be in the lands that do certain things that you want, but you also want to make sure you're addressing enemies as well and trying to get to these rifts so that you can deal with them as well. Okay. But I'm going to go here. Just going to fly over there. So let's say I spent 1, 2, and I have to use double. I have to use double to get a place where there's despair, and then I will do 3, 4. Right, so I have to play another card. That's that one, and then I get the action points to move there. That would be the end of my journey phase. Now the exploration is where all the action begins. This is the overall action. I could rest, so I can rest and gain back half my points. Gain back half my health. I could get an extra action point. I get a card. I'm good to go. That's rest. I only get 1 action. So we don't want to do that unless we need to. We can address a despair. We can do a skill check here. So we can take care of this despair. We want to get rid of those because if despair spreads around all 8 lands, then we lose the game, and they spread really fast. So we can deal with that. We can attack these enemies here. We can do a lot of different things. So keep this in mind that it's going to be a little bit of chaos about midway through the game. We can also deal with these void rifts. But like I said, once this stuff gets higher and higher, it's going to be a lot of mass stuff. So I'm trying to cover this all at once. All right. So let's say we're at a location and I just want to explore a location. It could be A, B, C, or D, depending on where I'm at. Let's say I just want to explore B or whatever, or I was at C, so whatever. What I would do is I would say, hey, I want to explore this location. I'll take this card here. It's got some text on it, and it's also going to have a skill check. And this is where the heart of the game comes in. This is the beginning of the heart of the game. It's going to tell you the different colors. There's red, yellow, green, gray, and blue, I believe. And all these cards have these different skill checks on them. Now, they have the different colors on the tops, but we're looking at the bottom. So whenever we're doing an exploration phase, we're looking at the bottom of the cards. Like they said, there are going to be some regular cards, uncommon cards, and rare cards inside of this deck as we upgrade. But we're going to be looking at the bottom of these cards and deciding several things. So I have my hand of cards right here. And what I'm looking at is not only what the color is, because that's going to contribute to how many of my dice that I can chuck. I got my dice over here. How many of these dice I can chuck, because this is very D&D-like when it comes to that part. You're chucking dice. But instead of that, I could use the card as an exploit. And an exploit would mean I put this card over in my player area, and that would give me an ability for the rest of the game. or I could use it for its instant effect. So that instant effect will just have something like, for me, there's a lot of movement in my deck. So I would be able to move 3 spaces to get to an enemy, something like that. So I discard it and I would do that action. So you have a lot of uses for those cards. And of course, they get better as you go inside that deck and start upgrading as well. So the bottom of your card is vital, okay? So it says that I have I have a 6 check that I need to do here, and it needs to be yellow. Interestingly enough, okay, I do not have a yellow, so I'm just going to give myself a yellow here. I'm going to use this one here, this oath here, and I'm going to be able to roll. It says yellow. I have two yellow, so I can roll 2 yellow here. And what we're looking for is to pass a 6. There are several things you can do and when you're rolling here. Of course, I passed, and I would get 1 success. Anything over 6 would have been a success. But I do have the ability to spend one of my actions to re-roll a die. Look at that. I have 2 successes. Now, interesting thing is bad dice rolls are always a thing in games, right? If you get 8, you get 2 successes. This is important. Or if you roll 1, of course, you fail automatically, but you can spend 3 actions, 3 of your AP to re-roll that again. There are so many ways to help you out with bad dice rolls in this game. So you have different options. That means you got to save these action points between rounds to kind of boost that up. But there's also abilities that help you do that as well. So let's just say I pass, and if I pass and I fail, I still get XP. It's just that bad results could happen. If it says, hey, for every one of those that I passed, and let's just say I did get those double 6 and a 6, I get 2 XP, so I put the 2 XP on there. And then for every one that I passed, every success I get 1 XP. So then I get 2 more, reduce the doom track by 1. And that would be this here. So I get this card, and this card has favor on it, a favor on it. It says, I reduce the doom by 2. I need to take this card to the main location on the board, which would be for that area, which would be the A location. Every section over here has a A, B, C, and D. I need to take it to the A section of that thing and then return this card for free, and then I get the ability here. So I would just put this by my area over here and make sure that I have that with me, okay? And that would be my 1 action. Let's say I wanted to, let's just say on a later turn, let's say somehow I got way over here and I was exploring. Actually, let me just do it right here so you can see a little bit better here. Let's just say I did go over here, whatever. I have my despair token. Now, despair actually makes it harder, okay? So what it'll do is it'll raise it 1, raise the skill check 1, but let's go back to it. I'm gonna put it over here because it's green and whatever, we'll do that world. This one says if I get this, it says gain a chosen positive condition, so I can get that one. But for right now, ooh, I have another yellow 6. Let's do gray 6. All right, here we go. So gray 6, let's see, do I have a gray? I do have a 1 gray, or I have, yeah, let's do, ooh, I do have a +1 to all this. I'm gonna put that down there. I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna do that because that gives me 1 gray or two gray here as well. So I can play as many cards as I want to make sure I get the dice that I need. So I have a total of 3 dice here. I will roll those. Anything that I get over 6, I got none. I got none. And I have 1 action point left. Roll that 1 over again, and I did not pass. So what happens if I fail? All right. So I failed the check. These cards will be discarded. That's totally fine. It says I fail, and I get 1 XP still. Okay. And then it says I gain the madness condition. So instead of gaining the kind of like, hey, I'm focused, I get a madness. Now I actually have this madness here. It says I get -1 to my blue test. So whenever I do a blue test, I will always have this issue. Now, what did I do? I was kind of sleight of handing over here. I could actually put this down here as an exploit. It says +1 to all yellow tests. So this will stay in my area for the rest of the game. This says exploit. I can have 2. If I want to change it out, I have to get rid of 1. Another thing we can do is deal with these the voids. So if this is let's say I was here. So if I was dealing with the void rifts, I would go and I would do one of these. I draw from the void rift deck. it has some language on here. It says that I have to do the gray 7. Now, I'm going to keep putting these cards back in my hand because I like to cheat and show you different things. So it says, yellow test. I only have one card that gives me a yellow test. Or gray. Yellow or gray. I have one gray here. And then I also could do, during a test, I can do one combat. I can discard 2 here to add 1 die, which is just a general die. And then I can change this and discard 2 cards to make it a yellow. So then I have 2 cards here. I'm doing magic over here. I have 1 7 and I needed a 7. All right, so I add a 7 here. I place it on. I have a 1 pass here. I get 4 XP plus 1 per success. So I have 1 success here because I rolled a 7 or higher. And then I would get 4. All right, I've been using this prototype and doing this 4, 5, 6, 7. So you're like, oh, dude, this guy's got a lot of XP, right? He's doing all this stuff. Well, let me explain what happens. For a free action, just like turning in one of these cards once you get to the A section, you can level up. When you level up, you're going to spend 5 of these, and you can do multiple ones at a time, but I'm going to do this 5 here and spend it, and then I'll go 1, 2, 3, and draw this. And by the way, sorry, when I get rid of a void, which I did, I would remove this void, and then that moves the awareness up like that, 1 up the track here. All right? And as I move that, things will happen. We'll get back to that. All right, so this is gone. We're making the boss angry, okay, whatnot. And then for leveling up, I would choose one of these cards and put the other 2 down. Seems like I'm having a problem with yellow, but I'm gonna make sure I put that down there. Okay, in my hand, stays in my hand, and then these 2 cards will go under, okay? Now, let's say I wanted to fight enemies. And just remember, the goal, not let despair spread, and also take care of these void rifts so we can irritate the heck out of this guy. Let's say I wanted to fight someone. Okay, so let's say I was over here and I wanted to fight someone. That's another thing I can do. All right, I'm going to fight this enemy here. What's going to happen is there's only one of these, but if there are multiple, they have this dice mechanic here to represent the different color, different players. So if I was fighting 3 guys, I would just assign die to those people. And then what will happen is a little process here where we'll go through our intent. So this one here, we'll roll, we'll do that, we'll roll this one here, we'll do that, we'll roll this one here, they do that. Now, what we do, I'm actually going to use this one over here just because it's a lot more easy to explain. What we're going to do is look at the card. The card is going to tell us, hey, this is a mob. There's going to be 2 or 3 of these, whatnot. There's going to be a whole bunch of them. And what we're going to do is face off against them. This is not the wizard. I'm sorry. I messed up there. Let me get some of that. Let me get one of these with the 3 enemies on it. A spider here. There we go. The 3 spiders. There we go. All right. So we have the 3 spiders here. And what we'll do is we'll look at the numbers and compare them to what the die say. So this 3 right here says it's going to do 2 attack, and it's also going to have 3 armor. And this is a melee attack enemy. Tell us what its abilities are. It's also going to have their health and what you need to roll over in order to get a success against them. And the success would do 1 attack to them. You also have, this one has a 3. Lord Jesus. This one also has 2 attack. This one here has, looks like 1 attack and 2 armor. So we got to pay attention to this armor. We got to get through the armor. I'm just going to simulate one of these as having a 1 so that you can see how that one works. And then we start committing cards. So we have a hand of cards, and we can commit as many cards as we want to this, but we're going to have a ranged, and then we're going to have a melee round. This enemy happens to be melee, but we can play cards if they are ranged. Mine, I have 1 ranged attack, and every card that I play is an attack card. It's considered an attack card, and there is a reason for that because some abilities will say, hey, give you armor or give you +1 for every other card you have played. This is where the top half of the card becomes very important here. So you're laying these cards out for range and whatever, but you're committing these cards and saying, hey, I want to pay attention to certain things during that first round where it's attack heavy, attack for range, and then I also want to pay attention to what's going to happen when I get to the melee side. Well, I'm looking at what they're vulnerable to, and it says they're vulnerable to gray. So I'm going to have to make sure I have one gray melee card in there, but I'm also going to add, and I have a powered up deck. Trust me, I have a powered up deck. I have another card. I have a card here that says I get 3 health, I get 3 shield, or I pay 1 to get 5 shield. And I'll just give myself an extra one because I have all these different abilities. Like for him, it says the first time on each round, you deal 1 damage of a type that's their vulnerable type. So I get like this kind of like I'm prepared as a samurai. I also get 1 extra. I get, let's see, I get 1 extra action point when I engage in a battle right away. I have a whole bunch of stuff I can do. And I get excited about this because I happen to love cards, card games that are real slick that have multi-use cards. So it literally excites me. I'm trying to make sure I explain this stuff correctly. So I'm laying the car out. I'm laying these cards out, and I'm gonna go with. Actually, I'm gonna go with that. And each card is a different attack. So you really want to make sure you're paying attention to what you're doing here. So I'm going to play this as well because my first attack will be that. All right. Okay. This is good. Okay. So what we'll do is now we'll go to the range round. They're not a ranged character, so they won't hit. Now I'll have me, I get 3, and I'm just gonna put these on here. It says I get 3 damage, and if I pay 1 action point, I get 5. I like to mark these so I know I have that. I have that. And nothing happens during the range round. Now we go to the melee. I go first, and then they go after me. So I have 4, it says 4 yellow dice, but I have this ability that says that I'm going to be able to get a vulnerable, I get to change the color to their vulnerable color, which is gray. And I get to roll 4 of them. And I also gain 3 shield. Okay, here we go. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 die, and I'm looking for anything that's above, okay, above a 4, okay? And what happens is when it's vulnerable, I double the number, anything above a 2. So this is a 4, this is a 6. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 success. Of course, I'd have to pick my target before I do that. I did not do that. What I'll do is since this is a 2, I'll attack him. This is 4 successes. He has a 2 shield, but I also have hit him for 4, so then he will be dead because he only has 2 health. So 4 minus 2. Okay, he's dead. That's things like that. And then I would do it for the next attack. So then I would do 1 die, which is gray, and I'm going to attack these guys, which have a lot of health. And I'll roll. This is a 2, but it's going to be a 4. But this guy has a shield, so it's not going to be enough for it to get through. That kind of thing like that. All right. Then they would attack me, so they're just attacking me straight up. And what I'm paying attention to is my health and my shields. This guy's going to attack me for, looks like 1, and then this guy's going to attack me for 2 and whatnot. Now you're thinking, okay, that's pretty simple combat. Now that all resets at the end of the round, okay? So we just keep fighting until this is resolved. So you're going to fight a bunch of people or you can fight one person. So, and the one person, of course, is buff. This one has 10 health and 6 shields. So you got to roll really well. And you got to pay attention. Hey, do I have my deck built up for that color? Okay, like that. And that's a combat round. So there's a lot of things you can do on here. You can deal with locations, try to solve one of these cards. You can do one of these as well. So the despair, you can close a rift, or you can get into a battle, or you can rest. There's a lot that you can do on your turn. All right, so once you're done with that, your exploration phase, now you're going to get to the boss phase. The boss is going to draw a card, okay? And when they draw a card, it's going to tell you what you fill the board with and where you fill it. But the doom track is going to move according to how many of these mobs are out here. So let's just say there's 3 out here. It will move up 3. You don't want it to get it to 20 because it's going to start pulling cards out. This is going to tell you what more rifts will come out and what worlds they'll be in. For this one, I'm 1 player. It says it's going to have a rift come out in world 3. 2, 3, and then it's going to D. I look at that, goes to D. Done. If it's monsters, I go around till I see a rift, I draw a card, that's where the monster goes. It tells me exactly where it's going to go and whatnot. If it's yeah, and that's that's pretty much it. If it's despair, it tells me what world it goes on. It goes on the A. If, unfortunately, If there's already a rift there, then it doubles up and it goes on both sides and it starts to spread and spread and spread and spread. That's not good. Okay. So got to get moving around the board. And then that's the round. You keep going and you hopefully keep this doom track down and start dealing with these rifts. And for depending on player count, once you get to a certain number, the enemy will come out in the spell rifts that is not from the game, and you will have to fight it. It has its own conditions. This one can attack up to 3 times. Thank God. I'm a solo player, so I don't have to deal with all that. But it has the same setup. You're gonna be rolling that die. It's gonna have its certain thing that it's gonna do. It's gonna have 10 health, and it also has its vulnerability as well. And you're just gonna fight this thing and try to beat it. All right. So I'm expecting in this campaign to have a ton of these different bosses, a ton of different characters, and then you also have these decks over here. You're shuffling these tiles. There's a lot of variability built into this game. And it may seem like I'm rambling, but there's a lot that goes on. Hopefully, this gives you an understanding of what this game is trying to do. But it's very simple. You're moving around, that's the journey. You're exploring, taking actions, and discovering things in the land and trying to clean it up and destroy these rifts and the enemies. And you're trying to prevent doom from spreading and despair from spreading so that you can irritate the boss. The boss comes out, you got to beat the boss. Hopefully that gives you an idea of what Dragori Games is trying to bring to you. The thing that I really enjoy about this game enough is so much is just the sheer amount of variability makes this game exciting. It's going to make this game exciting every single time you play it. I think there's going to be some refinement during the campaign and hopefully in testing as well. So this will probably be a lot more smoother, cleaner. And I expect that from Dragori Games because their games are very easy to get into. But of course, that comes through playtesting, rulebook, readovers, and everything. I think this will be in a good place. I like where it's at right now. Oh, and man, I'm so happy to see you guys again. Feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. Hopefully, we answer your questions. You take care. Have a wonderful day.